Well, this is for those who are the early arrivers, the very first of what is a pretty exciting new monthly webinar series with the Primary Club. We're going to do the formal introductions and the formal chat in a minute or so. It takes a little bit of time for everyone to come in. So for those who are just arriving, hello and welcome. I am Matt De Groot, and the two other people that you'll see on your screens need no introduction, but I will be giving them a very thorough one because that's just the nature of my job, to highlight the two legends who are going to be joining us as well. Whilst people are coming in, Jim Maxwell, good afternoon, good evening to you, sir.
Hello, Matt. How are you? You're swimming in it. What's that flower behind you?
I have tastefully relocated it from somewhere out of shot to put it behind me to make me look a little bit more sort of just modern gentleman.
Well, it's real. It's not plastic.
It is real. It is real.
Good.
I water it once a week, I'm told. That will keep it alive. And so far, so good.
Looks fantastic. So do you.
Thank you, Squire. I presume you also have that Primary Club banner behind you at all times. That is a feature of your home.
Yeah, I've got Nathan Dale and Jeff Burko here. So we've got a lot of choreography, floor managers, prop builders, you name it. They're all here. It's a big TV production for this.
I refuse.
We've got the Primary Club.
I refuse to accept that this isn't you just running the whole technical operation on your own. You set it up. There was no issues.
Very technical, as you can see.
Outstanding. And whilst we're still welcoming people in, I won't go too big on the introductions, but our guest this evening and the first who has been very gracious in making himself available this evening, an ambassador for the Primary Club and the best fast bowler in the world right now, Pat Cummins. Welcome to the very first fireside webinar series for the Primary Club of Australia.
Welcome,
Thanks for having me. And I feel privileged to be the first member on this webinar series, but also I feel like if I stuff it up, I might also have the honour of being the last. So that's something to look forward to. See how that goes throughout the night.
Well, I mean,
it only costs $10 if he gets out for a duck.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, a few, I think.
The guests who are going to be following you have a reasonable pedigree in the sport. Mark Taylor, Greg Chappell, Lisa Stalaker. So the bar is high. No one's. Absolute no one's. Now, whilst people are coming in, Jim, you've got yourself a delightful red there. What are you drinking this evening?
Kindly provided by Jeff Burko. It's a Pinot Noir from New Zealand. Ara, single estate from Marlborough. Yes, a good New Zealand choice. So it's going well. It just needs a bit more air, but I'm sure it'll get it as we go. You put the top back on, Jeffrey. Top of the bottle.
And have you got the bottle of wine as well, Patrick, or what's happening over there?
No. I'm a professional athlete, Matt, so I'm just on the whiskey.
Yeah.
A couple of ice cubes.
Jack Daniels, what do you got?
It's Sullivan's Cove, actually, which is it's not a midnight midweeker. It's one of the best. It's a very fine whiskey from Tasmania, so I'm loving that.
Is it true that when you go out drinking with Steve Smith, right, he has to buy his own because he always wants to drink double scotches while the rest of you are drinking beers?
Yeah, has happened. Yeah,
You're shouting, mate. You shout your own, yes.
No comment on that one yet.
Yeah.
Matt, what are you having, mate? I saw a water there. You up early in the morning, eh?
The Voss water. It's the official water provider of the Primary Club of Australia Fireside series. I wasn't sure what the vibe was going to be. I didn't know if it would be unprofessional to have a red with me. I thought it's probable that Jim will. I thought you, for our optics' sake, will probably go a Powerade. So I erred on the side of caution, went water to start, but I think that may evolve as the hour evolves.
Yeah, you got that one wrong, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's on me. Now, it looks like people are rolling in, and to those who have registered and come in, a big welcome. And you have the opportunity to chat and to get involved. And we're going to be asking you to ask Pat questions, which we're going to get to as well. For example, Damien, Patty, is that the same whiskey that you purchased from Sean Marsh when you broke his arm?
I forgot about that. No, it's a different one. Yeah, it's a bit of a longer story, but World Cup business end, a couple of days out from the semi-final, day before our last round match. I thought I'd bowl one more ball in the nets and, broke Shawnee Marsh's arm. So that was his World Cup gone. So I went and bought him a bottle of whiskey. I forgot about that. But yeah, it was not as nice as this one. I didn't shell out that much for it, but
yeah. It's good. It's good to know that the price of a World Cup spot is a bottle of whiskey. Great to know. This is a good chance. I think enough time has passed to officially welcome everyone in, because the way Zoom works, it sort of drops people in, each second. But it looks like we'll have most people here now. So a big welcome to each and every one of you, and thank you so much for pivoting. It's a very odd time, and obviously the primary club, like everyone, has had to look at ways to stay involved, to continue to connect with you who have been so fantastic supporters of the primary club, but also keep chatting cricket when there's no cricket on, and keep front and center all the great work that we're doing. And so this is a monthly webinar series. A big thank you to our series sponsor, Vocus Communications. They're the ones who bring the technology of all this webinar series together. Tonight's episode sponsor as well, publishers Allen and Unwin. Thank you very much. If you would like to support upcoming ones, the future guests are fantastic. Mark Taylor, Damien Fleming, Greg Chappell, Lisa Stalaker, Ed Cow, many, many more for our fireside chats, sans fire, at least in this particular house. But it's a really great chance to sit down and just chat cricket with greats interviewed by one of the greats. And I'll first formally introduce the co-host of the Fireside Chats, Jim Maxwell, who is the president of the Primary Club of Australia, the voice of Australian cricket, and the man who, anytime once the sun sets, has a glass of wine in his hand. And I love that you've continued that. Jim Maxwell, a big welcome to you. Welcome to a Zoom meeting. Is this your first?
It's not my first, but it's my first with a good Pinot Noir. Because normally it's a bit more formal and teetotal than this will be. But this is like all the traditional cricket broadcasts I've ever had on the BBC, certainly. There's always, thanks to Brian Johnston's influence all those years ago, been something in the box that you could drink. Water. Why we have the champagne moment on the BBC. Proudly sponsored by Berkeley Co. But there it is. There's no champagne yet, but once the cricket starts again, I'm sure even, and Pat might have a sip when we get some stuff behind us. But we're all in dreamland at the moment. We're doing fantasy cricket, replaying matches. We want to have the real thing, don't we, Pat? What's likely for you as you look ahead in terms of actually bowling a ball other than in a net?
Yeah, I miss it. We've got our first day back at pre-season tomorrow for the New South Wales Blues. Yeah. So I look forward to that. No batting or bowling yet. It'll just be gym work, pre-season running. 3 times a week starting next week. I reckon maybe September. I don't know where or who against, whether it's IPL or we've still got an England ODI tour that we've got to try and fit in somewhere. So I'm kind of gearing towards there, which is still 3 or 4 months away. But yeah, starting to feel a bit more like normality, going back to training and seeing all my teammates.
You must have withdrawal symptoms, though. You've been down in the Southern Highlands. What have you been doing? Milking cows and cutting grass? What have you been doing?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yes, got a couple of cows. I've been doing a bit of, I don't know. I should have actually kept a diary because I felt really busy, but now I look back on it, I don't think I was very busy at all. But it's been good. I've been totally away from cricket. So I've caught up with a couple of the cricket boys for a quiet beer over the weekend. I hadn't seen quite a few of them for a few months, but absolutely nothing cricket related. So I'm just about ready to get back into it.
I think your coach, Justin Langer, said before this blew up into what it's become, that it's a good thing for the players. They can go and sleep at home and spend time with their families. I mean, how much of that R&R do you need before you get to the stage of being a bit edgy about playing cricket again?
Yeah, I think it's about now. Because normally when we're home, it's only for maybe a couple of weeks. So you kind of got one eye on the next tour. You can never fully relax. Especially as a quick bowler, whenever we're home, that's kind of our time to try and do some gym work and do the things that we can't really do on tour, fitness-wise. But I think it's about now. I mean, for the state players, they get a 5 or 6 month preseason basically every year. Whereas if you're on the international tour and a circuit, you basically get no break. So this is a good opportunity for us to, have a couple of months doing nothing, totally away from cricket, and then still have enough time of a 3 or 4 month lead in before playing. But I wouldn't want it too much longer than now. I'm missing it a bit.
It's an impressive collection of hats you've got yourself in the background there. Are they your hats? Are you a wide brim sort of bowler cap gentleman?
Well, funny you say that because no, this is a spare room, and I've walked in. I've got my lovely fiance's Becky's makeup everywhere. It's the only place for the desk. But I've just realised she's got a bit of a straw hat problem.
She does have a straw hat problem.
And that's for someone who I don't think wears straw hats that often, but she's got about 6. So
congratulations on the engagement, by the way. That's very cool.
Oh, thank you, Ta.
I won't press you on a venue. I'll simply just say that, it is, for anyone who hasn't jumped on Becky_Boston's Instagram, which a number have 19,000. Geez, you bring followers. I'm going to start dating you.
Oh, good on
yeah, that's amazing. There's a beautiful photo of the two of you. How did you do it? How did you propose?
So down in the Southern Highlands, it was about a week before we had to fly off to South Africa. So organised a ring, did it all. We had a tour to India before that, so I was pressing all the boys for there. Because just about everyone in the team's either engaged or married, so I was getting all their advice. Most of it pretty good advice. Some of it, there's a couple of tight asses in the team. That's all I'd say. No, just did a very normal, a normal night watching the sunset in our favourite spot and caught her off guard.
That's beautiful, man. I love
it.
And
what was best and worked out perfectly was her mum flew in about 2 days later. That was already planned, and I flew off to South Africa. So by the time I got home from South Africa, all the wedding plans sorted. Great.
So good. Now speaking of items, wedding ring being an item of sort of semi-value, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. As a cricket nut, there are other items that are going to be involved in this chat that I think are significantly more valuable. Now, to give you a bit of a rundown about how we're going to do it over the next inside between 8 and 9. So we'll keep it tight for you. Jim and Pat are going to chat cricket. It's going to be a great chat. Whilst they're talking, we give you the opportunity to ask questions as well via the Q&A function here in Zoom, and a whole bunch of you are already throwing in questions, and we're going to throw those to Pat as well afterwards. So keep writing your questions as they come up, because we're going to hit Pat with them at the end. The other thing we're doing, and this is sensational, when we had the meeting last week, Pat didn't know about this until we sort of sprung it on him in real time, but we thought, let's auction an item each time we do one of these fireside chats that the player brings, that we throw up. All the proceeds obviously go to the Primary Club of Australia. That auction will run during this hour and close at the end of the hour. So whoever's the highest bidder at the end of the hour, you get the prize. So don't sit back going, I'm just going to wait and maybe see tomorrow. Just get in there, have a few reds, don't tell the missus, and put the card down. What, Pat, are you going to be throwing up as our first item to be auctioned off today?
Yes, so I thought long and hard, and I thought, what did I have around? And I thought nothing better than a pair of my bowling shoes.
What?
Which I wore I'm not sure if you can see there.
No way. 2019
Ashes series. So I wore them during the England tour last summer in a few of the test matches. So, they're up for grabs. So I don't know what a reserve price is.
Well, I will let those who are watching decide. That is amazing. Now, as we say, throw your bids up in the comments section. We will be monitoring that, and as we say, we'll be calling out the people who have bid, who have nominated, and whoever is leading at the end gets the opportunity to take Pat's boots home with them. We also want you to sign up or renew as a member to help support the charity. It's $50 a year. The money goes to such good cause. For members already, renewals are coming up in June. For non-members, the fee of $50 can be across all events like this moving forward. So sign up on the website. We'd love to have you. The more the merrier. It's just a lot of fun. And Jim, as president of the charity, something that you know the value of, and just what each of these dollars goes to.
Yes, well, for those of you who may be just switching on to the whole idea of the primary club for the first time or are not aware of what happens, the primary club has been going since 1974 in Australia, and its purpose is to raise funds for organisations that need some help with a sporting flavour, but not necessarily just a sporting flavour. For instance, recent times, Riding for the Disabled, we've given $25,000 for a new ramp to be built down in Victoria. And that's in Goulburn, but in Victoria, we've got Port Phillip School working out with some equipment for the playground there. There are so many different things. The other one that used to be called Sailability is now Making Waves. It used to be Sailability. We're helping out with the cost of some of the craft for that. But I mean, it could be anything or anything else, like those wheelchairs for the disabled that they use on the beach. Yeah. It goes back, $7 or $8 million over a long period of time, and it comes by way of donation, fundraising, and the unselfishness of Australian cricketers, men and women, who manage to get themselves out before they've scored a run. So every time that happens, it's a $10 donation from everyone in the primary club. It be a test match, a one-day, or a 50-over game. So thanks to the players who've done so much to contribute to the good cause over the years. And I think Pat's probably qualified once or twice, even though he's a star all-round cricketer. So that's the nature of it.
Wonderful.
We're aiming to get the message out more and more that this is something worth doing. And Pat's also an ambassador as well as being a guest here tonight. And wonderful to have him on board in such a supportive way.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. How many Golden Ducks have you had in your career as a Test cricketer?
I wish I could get to that answer a lot quicker. I'd say 2 or 3 or 4. Something around there. It's not 0. Is it more? Is it 5?
More.
6? Is it?
Yeah.
Come on, mate.
Yeah. In all games for Australia, one day's 50 T20 and Tests, 9.
Oh, Pat.
9.
Thank you for your contribution.
9 first ballers.
Probably last ball of the innings. A lot of them.
Yeah, just sacrificing yourself with a run.
You can blame our statistician and scorer from Balmain, Ian Wright, for that information.
Yeah,
all right. Okay. Thanks, Rod.
And Jimmy, before we launch into the chat as well, for those who are wondering the wildlife involved in our Zoom meeting, Jim, you have a wonderful bird collection in your home, which I think is somewhere near the microphone because they seem to be
it's
just
over there. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. They've just been covered up by Nathan, but every time I raise my voice, they go berserk. So I'll try not to raise my voice too often. But
right. No. You
that's
guys...
Marjorie and Albert.
Gorge.
But it's probably getting to that time of the night where they might do a bit of canoodling and.
Oh Jesus!
I
will.
We've got TVs in our place, Jim.
yeah. There's a whole lot of things you can do in the 21st century, mate.
Right.
I will step back now, Jim. I'll let you take the reins. You and Pat. I can't wait to sit here and just listen.
Feel free to come in off an edge, Matt, as it were, anytime. Right.
Well, I'll also be collating the questions. Already 20 odd people have thrown in questions, so there's no shortage. So write your questions, and we'll be asking them of Pat as well. But please, Jimmy, take it away.
I'll just do this one slightly indulgent question, Pat. There's another Pat who's taking all this in, and he's a sponsor from Allen and Unwin. He runs Allen and Unwin, Patrick Gallagher. Don't know whether you know him, but he wanted me to ask you, when are you writing your first book? And he's very happy to publish it for you when you do. When's your autobiography coming out?
I've not even thought of that, and I think at the moment I'm probably asked about one chapter. So, once the demand's there, I'll issue the supply, but I don't think it'll be anytime soon.
No, well, you've got a few years to go before it needs to happen, but I'm sure someone will be tapping on the shoulder anxious for a book at some stage or another. Yeah. Now, let's talk about the exciting things in life. To spit or not to spit, saliva or not saliva. Can you continue to be as great a fast bowler as you've been for the last 12 months, 2 years, if you're not able to put saliva on the ball anymore? That's what they're saying.
I think it'd be a shame to lose that. I mean, probably for me, it doesn't affect me as much as other guys. I'm not a big swing bowler, but I think for anyone that's played a full day of 2-day cricket, you see how chewed up the ball gets if the wicket's hard, if it's dry, and how it just, unless you can give it a really good shine, it just doesn't come back, and it's just goes gun barrel straight. And if you've got the best batters in the world down the other end, you're just never going to get them out. So for me, as a cricket fan, I loved growing up seeing swing bowlers and trying to bowl swing in the backyard. And I like the nuance that in a 60 overs in someone, the best bowler in the team might still come on and make something happen. I think if you can't shine the ball really well, I think we'll lose a lot of that. So hopefully once this is all over and we get back to normality, everything is deemed safe and we can go back to shining how we have for hundreds of years. But in the meantime, I'd like a different option, or sweat's a good compromise, I think, for the short term. But I think we do need to get back to shining how we always have.
So you think over a period of time this will hopefully blow over and we can just get back to normal, or is it a worry for bowlers that this edict could be around for some time, whereby no saliva? I don't know how they're going to police it, mind you, but that in itself will be interesting to watch. The umpires are going to be the policeman with a third umpire upstairs. I mean, how the hell are they going to monitor it?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a question. White ball doesn't matter too much. I don't find we end up shining it too much because it doesn't do anything. But for red ball, I mean, Test series against India over here in Australia, you'd want to be able to shine. I know. Sweat's a compromise, but it sounds quite ridiculous talking about this. But if you sweat, sometimes you don't really want that on the ball because it's too wet. We try and keep the ball away from Joshy Hazelwood and the guys that are big sweaters because you can't actually control the little shining. But again, if we're really, really worried about spreading the disease, I think we'd be careful about how we played cricket in the first place. I mean, if we have to do this to get back cricket being played again safely in the short term, of course, we do whatever it takes. But yeah, I'd hate to see it lost from the game, just like we'll just put a line through that, never to be seen again.
So what other aspects of the game you think, at least in the short term, are going to be affected by some restrictions that are going to be imposed? I mean, one of them being, obviously, you're going to be playing in front of empty houses for a while. That's not a very good feeling to have either, is it? To have no crowd.
No, it's not. I think hopefully we're one of the lucky sports in that I think professional cricket will look a little bit different in that there'll be no crowds for the short term, I'm sure. there might even be a single venue. There's talk of, isolating games to one city. Maybe you'll see smaller stuff. I don't know. That might be different in professional cricket, but I hope of all the sports, cricket's a sport that you can play on a Saturday afternoon, and you don't have to, you've got a couple of acres you can stand around in the field. You don't have to high five anyone. You're not tackling anyone. So hopefully come summertime, grade cricket, Saturday afternoon cricket, kids cricket's not affected. That's my hope. And then as long as we're playing somewhere, that would be great.
Yes, well, let's hope that this interaction will follow. What sort of discussion have you been having here and there on social media and all the other ways that people keep in contact these days, particularly in isolation, with your mates about the game and how this pandemic could influence what happens?
Well, to be honest, there's not much cricket to commentate on between ourselves. So a lot of it's been golf. I don't play as much as some of the others, but there's been a lot of golf chat being thrown around. But other than that, there hasn't been much to report about in terms of cricket. So, conversations, the normal kind of things. When do you reckon we're going to get back together, and what's training going to look like? And people trying to get their head around how to map out a pre-season leading into, games that we don't know for certain are going to be happening at any specific time. But I think one thing we've done, which is probably a bit strange in these times to hear, is we were lucky. It was right at the end of our season. So this was actually our, recognised leave period. So it was actually a good break from a really busy 18 months to not have cricket, not have tour, and just more than anything for us fast bowlers, especially give our bodies a rest. So that's been the first kind of port of call, and now it's getting back into business soon.
Now, on to the nitty-gritty. The IPL is looming. It would seem one way or another. The Indian board are very keen to stage it. I heard Alan Border say the other day that it'd be a bad look for cricket to can the T20 World Cup and play the IPL. Now, as the highest paid IPL cricketer outside of India, what do you think?
Well, I think that's not it's not as easy as saying one or the other. The differences are largely logistical for a Cricket World Cup. You've got to fly in 16 different countries. All countries are at different stages of the coronavirus. And then, of course, a big event like that, you want to hopefully hold it in crowds. It only happens every few years. You want to play it across, you want to take cricket across all states in Australia. So I think ideally, it would still go ahead. But if they can delay that until hopefully only next year and maybe make it a bit easier for all the countries to attend, make it a bit more of a spectacle, then I think that's a pretty good opportunity to take. And I think IPL will seize that window, that opportunity. It's a bit easier, domestic competition. You can control, the players and the venues a lot more. Us overseas guys there's only 3 or 4 overseas, 5 overseas per team. So it's a bit easier to manage than a full scale, almost like the Olympics, so many different countries and media and everything else flying in for it.
You sense, though, that the IPL could take place at some stage between now and the end of the year?
That's what every time I speak to, teammates and Kolkata staff, they're still really confident. I think obviously everywhere in the world wants to get moving again, and in India, of course, they want cricket as soon as possible. And logistically, IPL's as easy as any kind of big tournament, where they can really control it to a couple of cities if they have to. And I'm almost, everyone I speak to is really, really confident, which gives me some hope, because, a couple of months ago when the world was shutting down, I just thought, maybe this year we'll get canned. But yeah, it's all positive news so far.
In terms of shutting down, cutting back, Cricket Australia seemed to have hit a bit of a panic button in giving some of their staff time off or reduced pay. New South Wales have kind of bucked that trend because, there hasn't been any revenue in the game in the last few months, and there won't be until India come here, I would have thought. So if you did have to cop a pay cut, would that make it more tempting to just say, I think I might go off and play in the IPL because you're not playing any cricket here?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to cross that bridge once it comes, but I guess it's finer details, but the players, all our pay is directly linked to the revenue anyway. So any proportional loss in, any loss by Cricket Australia will be proportionally felt by the players. So I'm sure we'll have a pay cut if revenue's down. It's all built in. Really feel for the staff and the play, and all the staff and coaches who, are down to either no days a week or 1 or 2 days a week. It's obviously really challenging for them. As I said, this is kind of our leave period. They've been working so hard, been on the road for 10 or 11 months, and suddenly they get to their kind of leave period, and for this little period, they some of them don't have any work to do. So feeling for them. Hopefully it all returns to normality. Each week seems more and more positive. It seems like the Indian tour, which is the big tour for cricket in Australia this year, is sounding really positive that's going to go ahead. So hopefully nothing too more is going to be felt from this coronavirus. But we're one of the really lucky ones in cricket. It just happened to be at the right time for us. We're in luckily a much more fortunate position than say AFL or rugby or NRL over here in Australia.
Yeah, and in terms of that, do you look forward to the Indian series as much as an Ashes?
It's getting that way. I think each summer you play in Australia and you expect to win. Last year playing India was a huge experience. Anytime you play India, especially in a test series, you've got 1 billion people watching you. It's a special thing. And for them to come over and they played so well last year and won the series, it just adds that little bit extra. So for this summer, love those big series, whether it's England or India, South Africa. I think they're the big series that almost define a test player's career. And this is going to be a huge one. So absolutely pumped. It's, as big as an Ashes series for me. Can't wait.
Well, would you say it's been the biggest 12 months of your life with all the accolades you've received? Number 1 international cricketer, fast bowler, border medalist, McGillivray medalist too. Mustn't forget that one. And retaining the Ashes and getting engaged. I mean, what can happen to surpass all this?
Yeah, it's been a crazy year. I mean, in terms of cricket career, no doubt, by an absolute mile, this has been the biggest year for me. I don't think I'll be happy if I match it again. And I think what makes me, the most proud and happy is for the previous 3 or 4 years, we've been talking about 2019 as a massive year with a World Cup and Ashes and a few big test series. So to play in just about every game, perform as well as I would have liked, ticked a lot of those, retaining the Ashes. It's been brilliant. So definitely cricket life, can't hope for a bigger year. I'd say outside of cricket, I don't feel too different to what I was a year ago, though, to be honest. So we'll wait and see.
But you feel fit. I mean, that's been the big difference, hasn't it, in the last couple of years compared to where you were for all those years after that amazing test debut. You seem to be able to get a continuity of play because your body's behaving.
Yeah, absolutely. And with each game, it makes the next game a little bit easier to manage. And I feel like I'm better equipped, skill-wise for the game as well. So it all just, that momentum of suddenly getting a series and then the next series, it just adds on and on. So I feel like it's been a dream run the last few years. I don't have to think about, will I be on the next tour? Is my body going to hold up? It's just worrying about that day's play, how to bowl well. Don't have to worry about my action or, am I going to be rested or, can my body cope with this full series? It's just go out there, bowl hard, and kind of don't have to worry about anything else. So it's been a great change, really refreshing. It feels like it's actually a lot easier to kind of center my life around tours now, knowing that the next 12 or 18 months are pretty well mapped out.
There's some interesting questions coming through here. Just one more, as I think back to the Ashes. My memory amongst many, but the one that sort of I thought stood out was when you bowled Joe Root at Old Trafford late in the day. Was that number one dismissal of the series? What was yours?
Yeah, that was for sure. Ashes on the line. It was late in day 4. Knowing that day 5 was, we didn't take any wickets late that night. We had to take 10 wickets, and they just had to, bat out on a pretty flat wicket, or pretty good wicket, for a draw. And we've done all this hard work. We were so close at Lords. I thought we, almost threw that away. I thought we were in a great position to win that test. Obviously, Headingley, Stokesy took it away from us. So I felt like, this can't be another game where we get so close and gets taken away from us. And unfortunately, bowled probably the best ball of my life, and got Rudy on at a good time. First ball that he faced, and pretty satisfying, that one.
I was going to say, Headingley, with this pandemic, we're going to have neutral umpires and the possibility of one more DRS per innings. Now, you would have liked to have had that at Headingley, wouldn't you?
Oh, I think it's too early. It's too recent, Jim. Don't talk to me about it. It's still too raw.
Oh, dear. Yes, that was a moment, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think we've all stayed up late at night, staring at the ceiling, wishing we had that one back again.
Yes. By the way, the bidding for your boots has hit $900, I think, is the last I saw there. So keep it going, folks. Pat Cummins has got a pair of Ashes boots that are up for auction tonight. So maintain the bids. There they are. Thanks, Pat. Very generous of you. 950. All right. That's it. Keep on the treadmill there, folks.
So Janine is the one with the $950 bid, and she is desperate for these. Every time someone comes in, she comes straight back over the top with another increase, and there's a little bidding war between Nathan and the primary club cricket team, which have taken it to 1,000. So Janine, back to you.
Go up in 200s, Janine, to make sure you get it, okay?
So she was at the Ashes in 2019, though. She said she was there in 2019. She was one of them. So she feels closer to the boots. There have been a whole bunch of questions coming through. So
we might go to those because everyone wants to have 2 bobs worth. I'm sure we only got a limited amount of time. So where do we want to go?
We'll start with. Well, actually, my first question is, Pat. Jesus Christ, you have some incredible teeth, mate. They are just wonderful chompers. That's just, are you a floss guy as well, or what are we doing here? Is it just brush floss every day?
Well, I can go into detail. I floss. I brush probably not as well as I should, sorry. And I've had a lot of fillings in my life. But Mum and Dad got me braces. Very kind of them. Very thankful.
Well, that's good advice for Harry and Jack. So they've asked the first question. So we'll try to get through as many as we can. If it's a story answer, go for it. But otherwise, we'll power through. Harry and Jack, age 11 and 7 in South Australia. Question 1, what is the fastest ball you've ever bowled?
Maybe 157 or 8. I don't know, actually.
158.
Something like, I don't know, but something around there.
When? Where?
England's 2015 one-day series. I think I got some up there, 97 mile or something like that, 98.
Full on. The best batsman you've played against?
I'd probably say AB de Villiers. Just gun in all formats.
And the easiest batsman to get out in the nets?
Oh. I don't even know where to take that one. I don't know. I'll say Smithy's the hardest because he's just never out. Even when he is out, he's not out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Haz. Thank you, Jack. A simple one from Oliver. Highlight of your career so far?
I'd say two. First one was 2015 World Cup here in Australia. I didn't play in the final. I was in the 15-man squad for the whole tournament. Played a few games, but incredible highlight running the drinks in front of 100,000 people at MCG. Amazing.
Yeah.
So that one, and then I'd say Old Trafford, retaining the Ashes. Yeah, great feeling. Kind of so much work went into that for so long, so that was really satisfying.
One here from Owen, and Jim, I'd love your thoughts on this as well. The NRL has decided to save money by going with one referee. Do you think Test cricket could ever do this and have one umpire and then say the batting team standing at square leg?
Well, I think it saves some money.
That's how we do it.
They could get rid of the umpires in the middle completely if they wanted to save money and just have the bloke upstairs. But I mean, that'd be a pretty horrible look, wouldn't it?
Or just trust the bowler. It's out.
On the subject of referees, Matt, this came up the other day with Bludging on the Blind Side, which is HG and Roy on the ABC Grandstand. And they were talking about the referees, and I sent them a note saying Norman May always reckoned that rugby union would be a much better game if they didn't have any referee.
I completely agree with that.
They get on with it. You see, you wouldn't have all those scrums.
Completely. Oh, referees kill rugby. Pat, how much did your original schoolboy bowling action change after your injuries? I saw there was a stat someone wrote in. It was 1,946 days, I think, between test appearances for you. How much did your action change as a hand rolls into Jim's screen and just fills up the bottle of red, which I like to think is something that happens every day on or off the field?
Somalia, Jeff Burko, thank you.
I mean, quite a bit. I think the essence of it is still there. It's just a little bit tired. You'll see, I mean, even my debut, I think my first series TV game was, I played some T20 for New South Wales in the Big Bash. I think it's just the Big Bash before the Big Bash League. And I look back at footage there and I feel my back hurting watching because I've got arms and legs and my back's twisting, my shoulders are twisting. So I think there's just a lot less twisting. I'm a bit straighter in my run up, a bit straighter in my jump. Just everything's moving in a straighter line, I think, a little bit.
How are you staying fit right now? Because, you know, you see these videos, Olympians, they're swimming in the pools out the back, they're swimming in the dams and the creeks, they've turned their garages into fitness centers. What were you doing? That's perfect. Perfect.
No, doing a little bit. We just a bit of running mainly, and a bit of gym work. Nothing too strenuous. We got 3 or 4 months of pre-season. Once we start up again, so just trying to tick it over and more for mental sanity more than anything else. But just a bit of a long distance running every now and then.
There you go. We'll continue on the theme of drinking and go slightly to the left because Simon has asked, which city would you say has got the best circuit? Now, for those who don't know what that refers to, that's just, more broadly just getting out and about. Now, I know you're an engaged man, so we'll just talk about the nightlife. Where's the best place to camp and just have a cracking time around the country?
I'll take it overseas. I mean, if you go in England, as I'm sure most cricketers that have done a league season, it's amazing how no matter what town you have, you'll find a couple of uni or backpacker bars that do 1 pound Jaeger bombs I mean, the amount of venues that must do that in England. So there's great. I'd say, I mean, Cape Town's a beautiful city for a couple of sundown drinks. I must say I'm a bit out of touch. Maybe asked me probably 7 or 8 years ago when I was an 18 or 19-year-old. I'm hopeless now. I play too often. It used to be good when I was 12th man.
What about you, Jim? Where's the best city in the world to perch for a week of calling Test cricket?
London, I'd say. London. Off the top of my head. I mean, there's so much going on. Down the old Kings Road, you know, I'm an old bloke, so I don't know where all these young horns are these days, but I know where to find a watering hole in good company. And in South Kensington, Chelsea, around there, I more enjoy going to a decent restaurant actually, and having a bite. But, not in
your formative years.
Well, the West Indies was number one in their formative years, no doubt about that. That was absolutely mad and out of control.
Okay, back to
if I talk to them about 1984, that's it, right? Even players had a good time in 1984.
This is for the after hours primary club chat. There had been a whole bunch of questions about the Test, that doco series, and have you watched the Test?
I have. Yep.
What do you think?
I really enjoyed it. I watched it. Kind of. I mean, one tour almost rolls into another. So it was good to watch a lot of the episodes that I kind of forgot happened, even a couple of months earlier. And a few of the nuances when we're out in the field, seeing what some of the coaches and other people are doing back in the sheds. Even, I think there's one great scene with Finchy, where JL comes down, storms down and yells at Finchy, or asks Finchy the question about why he didn't refer one off his pads. And I was sitting right next to it and I could not remember it at all happening. So it was more of I really enjoyed it as almost a thing to look back at the end of my career as a good chronicle of the last 18 months or so. But yeah, the fan reaction has been amazing from everyone I've spoken to. How do you see it?
Oh, it's access that you've never. My biggest, why I couldn't believe sitting there watching that first episode and seeing the way that Justin Langer was ripping into the batsman. It was during that one-day series where you lost 5-0, and he was just sitting there saying, all of you go out there with your processors. None of you are good enough to have processors. And I was like, holy cow, you've never seen any Australian cricketer spoken to like that, let alone by their own coach. This is how they talk. The insight is amazing. And Justin Langer's an angry man.
Yeah, he's heard that one back a few times. It's from us players when we get him in a good moment.
I suppose it feeds onto the question about the influence of Langer as coach, and Tim Payne, as accidental as he was as captain. I mean, the things have turned around in so many ways, but there seems to be a good hard core of experience, common sense, and all the other things that may not have been there previously. So what's your response to the way things are at the moment in terms of the leadership team, Pat? Because, well, you're part of it.
Yeah, it's really good. I guess another thing I thought when I was looking back at the early episodes of the Test, so not this Test summer, but say the Test summer before against India, was noticing how much pressure we were on, we were under. And a lot of it we just put on ourselves, but you know, the media scrutiny, the amount people. It was the first time I think that we were back on the TV. New broadcasters, new people watching, new staff, new players, and you could just see the pressure in everything we did. So I felt this summer was 10 times more relaxed than the year before, mainly because we'd been winning as well. We had players that were playing well, and we're a side that I think a lot of the public now knew. We'd gone through the Ashes and the World Cup, but I feel like we're in a really good place. I think the leadership has what's made it easier is, and Jail and Payne have done a fantastic job. But we've got players who are really, really successful, scored runs, taken wickets, have played more tests now than they had, a year or two ago. And it's all just kind of works together. So I think we're in a really good place. And there's not really anyone in the team, I think, who's right at the end of their career. I think everyone's still got, at least a few good years in them. And hopefully this pandemic break has only increased that.
Just on the boots, we've only got about another 10 minutes to go on the bidding. Where are we up to there, Matt? 1,100?
We're still sitting at 950. Then it went to 1,000. Janine hasn't come back from 1,000. So we're sitting... Oh, no, Janine did 1,100. Bless her soul. 1,100 is the highest bid at the moment with 9 minutes of bidding still to go. So to Nathan, over to you, my friend. Pat, best, most satisfying wicket you've ever taken?
Yeah.
This one from Thomas.
I'd say probably that Joe Root one, because I felt like it had a big influence on the match and the series.
Who is the most interesting player in the Australian team? Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith have to be two of the contenders.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two. Smith is weird, but then we got Marnus, and they're great because they know how weird they are, and they don't even have to embellish it. Like, they are so weird. They're just those people that you love in this corner of the change room, just watching them because they're always up to something. So I'd say those two.
A question from Anonymous. I go to the nets a lot, and I'm just wondering what the best thing to focus on while bowling in the nets is on a day-to-day basis.
I think a lot of bowling, the most important thing about bowling is your run-up. I feel like if I have a really good, balanced run-up where I'm consistently getting to the same position at the crease, the rest kind of falls together. Action and everything's good. If you have a really good, athletic, fluent run-up, I think that's 9/10 of the way there to bowling well. And then outside of that, concentrate on trying to hit the top of off 10 times out of 10. The odd bouncer.
The next question from Damien. Our captain, Nathan, always wins the toss and bowls first. I was always told the default position is to win the toss and bowl. Should I chat with the skipper or just find another team to play with? Do you prefer batting or bowling?
That's probably so you can get the beers in a bit earlier, isn't it? Once you get out.
Correct.
Depends what day you get me on. Some days I want to get out there at bowling so I can kick my feet up. Other days I'm ready for a coffee in the change room for a couple of hours before I have to bowl. So it changes.
From Cameron, what's your tactic against Virat Kohli?
Don't know. Try and get him out. Yeah.
Is there a plan? Is he just you just hope it's a good seed?
Yeah, I mean, you have different plans for every batter. I'm not going to tell. He's such a great player. He doesn't have too many weaknesses, but yeah, there's always something that you might try and target. But I mean, I try and concentrate on what works well for me most of the time. So in Test cricket, I'll be just trying to bowl good balls, the odd bouncer, not worry about the person down the other end too often.
Who do you like bowling with most of your mates?
They're pretty blessed. They're all pretty good. I love bowling.
All play at the same time.
Yeah, I love bowling with Nathan Lyon. When you just feel like something's going to happen if he's bowling well, and I'm bowling well a quick bowling well down the other end. Feels like you can take your time. The pace of the game slowed right down. We're in total control of the speed, and you just know that Lino can bowl long spells. So there's no real end in sight, and I love doing that. I know, a couple of big mates are going to follow me down my end once I'm done. So that's always a good time.
Where's your baggy green right now? From another viewer.
I think it's in my sock drawer. That's a good point, actually. I haven't checked it for a few months. I do normally keep it in a safe, but I feel like I got it out, and I probably should put it back in the safe for anyone watching who knows well.
$1,200 apparently is the top. So
That's for the shoes, not the baggy green.
not the baggy green, no. That's worth a bit more.
Who's your favorite athlete on the planet of all sports?
Oh, I mean, the Michael Jordan doco was pretty good, wasn't it? If you haven't watched that, watch that. I love watching Tiger Woods play. Just 20 odd years later, and he's still just. You just got to turn on the TV and watch him when he's on. Yeah, Sunday afternoon in the red shirt.
Gender equity, famous best female athlete.
I mean, Alyssa Healy was pretty good to watch in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Always like the opening batters that give it a bit of a whack. I'm trying to think. I mean, Serena Williams is still a great. Again, a bit like Tiger, she's been playing for close to 20 years, and she's still playing against people that grew up watching her play, and now she's still dominating and can compete against them. So I'd say those two, but. Yeah, I'll watch any sport really.
The last few questions, because we only have 2 minutes. 2 minutes until the bidding ends. Well, actually, we are supposed to finish at 9, so we'll close the bidding at 9, and then we'll farewell, as $1,300 is now the bid. Now that's Patrick has got the 1,300. Janine bid straight after, but Patrick got in first with 13. So Pat is leading at 1,300. Janine, if you want it, going to have to come in the next 2 minutes. Pat, some final ones from Jim and I as well. Again, you've been sensational being part of this. What was it about the primary club that you wanted to connected with you and made you want to come on board as an ambassador?
Oh, there's a few things. The rich history. I think the close relation to cricket, and sport for everyone. Sport's just been my life. I've got 2 older brothers and a couple of sisters, and a sport mad family, and the opportunities that it brings, and I think it's a pretty good. I just feel so fortunate to spend my life playing sport. I don't have to think about it. So just the work that they do in trying to enable that with everyone who don't have as easy an opportunity. The direct link to cricket, the direct link to Golden Ducks, it's all kind of things that are quite prevalent in my life. So, and obviously all the great people that are involved. So many things.
Yeah, that's wonderful, mate. I must ask this because Oliver keeps asking it. So either he knows you or knows the answer, or it's a joke, but I'll just tell you. Who's your favourite England player? Do you get along with him?
Got a few. They're a good bunch. The Pommies. Someone who's kind of in and out of the English side is Sam Billings, who I've played with at IPL, but he also played a season with the Penrith Panthers in grade cricket. So I played a bit of played a season of grade cricket with him. He used to sleep on my couch occasionally, and spent a bit of time with him.
That's wonderful. Jimmy, as we wrap this up, any final things from you to Pat?
Well, I was just saying $1,515 from Janine hits the front in the bidding. Now Nathan's bouncing again. $1,600.
He got it at 9 o'clock on the dot.
On the dot.
Dot. Nathan Ray, all bids are closed. Is it possible, Pat, do you happen to have
another pair of boots?
Well, I do.
Now Janine was there.
I was just going to think, obviously Janine's there. She's keen. She's willing to put in that amount, or I'll let you be the negotiator here, Matty, but absolutely. Pair of shoes, a signed test shirt from the Ushers, either of those two.
Okay, Janine, respond now. Would you rather, for $1,600, a pair of shoes or a signed test shirt, or would you like to bow out at $1,600? We'll let you decide. Whilst she responds, For those who are still watching, our next event is going to be, it's the last Tuesday of every month. So it's pretty basic, but June 23, Mark Taylor and Greg Chappell. Same time, same place. Mark Taylor and Greg Chappell. That is June 23. Janine, signed shirt, please, for $1,600. Nathan Ray gets the boots for $1,600. That's amazing. That's sensational, guys. That is brilliant. And thank you, Pat. That's
very good. Thank you for your generosity, everyone.
Yeah.
And particularly for Pat Cummins for putting the goodies on the table. Very good.
Yeah, you're a good man. We'll let you get back to your evening and leave the fiance's makeup room, Pat. Thank you. A big thank you to the sponsors as well. The series sponsor, Vocus Communications, and Allen and Unwin, tonight's episode sponsor. Thank you very much. And Jim, thank you to you and your mysterious hand that keeps pouring your glass of red wine.
Yeah. Yes. The Jeff hand.
Yeah. Can we just confirm the birds are okay? They've been very quiet the last time.
They've gone to sleep, actually. I think they've gone off to canoodle, I think, yeah.
Pat, we'll let you go. Jim, I'll let you go as well, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who watched. Over 200 people. That's for our first one. That's just sensational. So thank you. Thank you for your questions and your generosity. We'll see you on the 23rd with Mark Taylor and Greg Chappell. See you later, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Cheers, buddy. Cheers, Jim.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Pat.